Mic check, life check. With Haley Jensen. Hello and welcome back. We are back. It has been a minute, although it probably doesn't seem like that because I will probably be releasing the first 2 episodes right off the bat. But what you don't know, but I'm telling you, is that these episodes were recorded about a week and a half apart. I ended up getting sick right after I recorded the first one, and I knew I wanted to record at least 2 when I first released everything, and so unfortunately, yeah, I got sick, and I lost my voice completely. I sounded absolutely horrible. It was one of the worst illnesses I've had in a minute, and this, of course, is during the month of May, not exactly winter for Utah, and so, if anything, it's just kind of embarrassing to get sick in the springtime, because like the sun's out and everything's fine and dandy and I'm just dying of sickness. So that wasn't fun whatsoever. Somehow my husband didn't get the sickness, thank goodness, and neither did my baby. And so I was the one suffering, of course, and yeah, it was a time. But anyway, moving on. Today's topic is ADHD. Obviously, I am a female. Spoiler alert. So I can really only touch base on what I've personally experienced, kind of my own journey through it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I obviously am not living the male side of ADHD, so I can't really tell you too much about that, but just maybe what I've observed in certain environments, etc. So the background for my ADHD. Well, growing up, I always was not the biggest fan of school, I would say. It's not that I hated it. I actually, quite the opposite actually. I tried really hard because I had 3 older siblings that were very smart. Well, 2 of them. I won't say which 2, but they probably know. But we all were very much pushed by our parents academically to get the best grades, to be in accelerated academic programs. For example, I had mentioned this, I think, maybe I recorded it, I don't remember, that I had never gone to my home school growing up. And so this was with me and my siblings that we always drove at least 10-15 minutes to each school every single day, which my mom was a very good taxi driver in that way. There was one time in our childhood where she actually was driving to 3 different schools, all in different directions, about 15 minutes each way from the home base of our home. So specifically for elementary school, the elementary that me and my siblings all went to, they taught the curriculum a grade or 2 in advance of the grade you actually were in. So that was kind of the advanced learning there. But anyway, so there was that for elementary, and then junior high I was gifted in talented classes, and then high school, funnily enough, they offered the IB classes along with the AP, but I never took IB, and I don't think any of my siblings did either, so it's kind of very ironic in that way that none of us ever ended up doing the IB program, which of course stands for Advanced Placement, and I believe IB is, so I just googled IB because I knew it stood for, but it stands for baccalaureate? Let's see.
Baccalaureate.
Laureate. Never took any of the IB classes, but as for everything else, yes, throughout childhood into high school, everything was advanced curriculum, and you had to be a smart person to make it in this world kind of mentality. Which, obviously, my parents, at any point in my life, did they ask me if I wanted to be a super smart person and take hard classes? No, it was just kind of put on my life to-do list, like, this is what you're doing, and yeah, deal with it kind of thing. So I did. I came to find out that obviously, like most people, the things that I enjoyed doing / learning came easily, and the things that I didn't enjoy learning, I didn't enjoy. It's not that deep. One of my first memories of struggling specifically with something academic, I would say, where I'm just like, I feel like this is the worst thing in the world. I would rather do literally anything. As dramatic it is, I would rather die than do such and such, was in, I believe, 4th grade? I think it's 5th grade. That, and this is embarrassing for if anyone knows me or went to school with me, because obviously I don't care now, because I totally understand why. But anyway, we had to memorize the Gettysburg Address, which, it's funny because back then, my brain just thought this thing was like a massive, massive speech or something like that. And I Googled it the other day and I was like, oh, it's actually not that long. But in my brain, it seemed like it was this massive speech that we had to memorize that Abraham Lincoln gave. And anyway, so we were instructed that we had to memorize it. And the day came that everyone would stand and recite it. We were all just sitting at our desks, and so you just stand up and you'd recite it, and the teacher would grade you, and then you'd sit back down. So I remember, because we were given probably, I would imagine, like a month or two to memorize this, and I remember specifically the teacher warning us and saying, okay, I'm giving you a heads up, I'm giving you this in advance so that you don't get caught and surprised last minute and say, oh no, I didn't have time to memorize it. So she kept saying this every week leading up to it. Well, spoiler alert, I have ADHD, but back then it wasn't very apparent to me, or I didn't recognize the signs. And so anyone that is familiar with ADHD is last minute procrastination is the thing. Whether it's a good idea or not is irrelevant. It's the thing. And so I did not memorize the Gettysburg Address. Did I have every intention to? Yes. I wanted to. I thought about it every single week of those weeks leading up to that day. I remember memorizing the first couple lines, and every time I would go to recite those first couple lines, I would stop to whatever point of memorization and just get so frustrated and just tear myself down. Where if you compare that to literally anything else in life, of like, okay, let me just work really hard or practice or whatever, it gets to a point where it's like you get better. Like riding a bike, right? You take the training wheels off, you fall a bunch, but you get better. No, because for me, I was just getting more and more anxious every single time that I'm like, I am not moving forward. I am just getting stuck in this little rut. And quite honestly, at this point in my life, I had never really failed anything academically. Like, I worked really hard and did what I had to do. And so I do honestly believe this was kind of the very first time that I knew I was going to fail. And looking back now, I don't recall how I dealt with that sort of emotions coming from the mental capacity that I grew up with and the shame that I would have felt, I guess, for failing, or my parents finding out that I failed. I don't know. But all I know is that day came where everyone stood up and recited the Gettysburg Address, and it came to my turn. She calls my name. I stand up. I say the first 2 lines or whatever, and I'm pretty sure, I don't remember super well, but I think I must have just kind of laughed. It's like, that's it. And I sat down, and she looked at me and she's like, that's it? And I was like, yeah. She's like, okay. And that's what she said. In the moment, I know I must have been the most mortified I had ever felt in my life. One, because I, of course, was in front of all of my peers, all these super smart kids. This is an accelerated class. Everyone in that room, super smart, competing with one another. And I am just the big old idiot that didn't memorize it. The only one. Thankfully, in my brain, I was just like, okay, just call the next name. They'll forget about me. Yada, yada. I'm sure the majority of them forgot about me 10 minutes later. But obviously very emotionally embarrassing. This is probably one of the earliest examples that I can recall of something getting in my way that I wanted so badly or wanted to do, not because I didn't want to do it per se, but my body was physically rejecting any sort of moving in the right direction for that. And the real kicker is that I passed the class. Like, it's a grade. It was the 5th grade. So looking back, I'm like, how do they even do grades? Like, I don't know, like, I wouldn't have failed that grade if I didn't recite the Gettysburg Address. It's kind of a joke how they do elementary grades. It kind of confuses me, but whatever. Fast forward. So I'm the youngest of 4 kids. The other sibling closest to me is my brother. And he, from I'm sure a young age, at least from the stories I've heard from my mom, he has been bouncing off the walls pretty much his entire life, meaning super high energy, ADHD, typical boy. And so I grew up with that, and we were always closer in age and grades, and so I was always pretty much around him or going to school around the same time as him, and so I witnessed this firsthand a lot. And so anytime if I were to have considered myself struggling with school, that was definitely going to be ignored by the fact that they were watching my brother being a menace to society and not sitting down and getting his work done. So naturally, my brother was tested for ADHD and ADD, came back positive, obviously positive, whatever number scale, that he had both. And of course, that wasn't a shocker to anyone, but I remember, I think, fast forward after my brother had graduated from high school, I was really struggling with some things in high school for my own academics, and that I was just really didn't want to study for such and such class, and I just hated the curriculum, whether that was statistics or AP World History. Just certain classes that didn't hold my interest were just the most painful things to get through. And I even remember before high school in certain classes in junior high, I just remember that kids my same age would understand these concepts. Kids that I had grown up with and would consider myself just as smart as these same kids, but my brain wouldn't hold on to the information like theirs did. And I didn't feel like it had to do with the amount of time they were studying outside of school. They could just read a passage of text and remember it perfectly the next day that we read in our books or something. And I am just like, oh gosh, I don't remember any of that. And when it came to textbooks in general, oh my gosh, I wish I could do literally anything else in this world. I'd rather go pick up dog poop. I say that because I have 2 dogs and I have to do that every now and then. But no, literally, I would rather do so many different things. I'd rather get shots, needles, whatever. I would rather do literally anything than read coursework textbooks. But do you know what I really liked doing? Well, when I would go home and would be using the computer to research a topic for whatever essay I had to write for whatever class, I would get distracted. I would be searching some random question to get answered for research, and then something else would kind of pop into my brain. Obviously, spiraling and going down rabbit holes is not new, and anyone can do that. You don't have to have ADHD for that. But specifically during times where I was supposed to be working on a assignment for classes or whatever, and my brain would be like, nope, hard right turn into spiraling this way, because that way, homework way, is not fun. We hate that. And so even though in my heart and in my brain, it wasn't me being rebellious, it was, no, we are not doing that. And a funny thing is I remember there was an instance where my dad had was looking at the search history on the computer because he was very suspicious for what I was up to, like because I would be spending so much time on the computer. Keep in mind, I was going to high school in, let's say, 2014 through 17 or whatever. And so this was like the peak of Instagram, like instant messaging, like a lot of stuff. And so, yeah, I'm sure I was trying to, but keep in mind my parents were very, very strict. And so they actually had like blocks on a lot of social media stuff on the computer anyway. And so it turned into then I was just watching hours of YouTube videos, but not like typical teen watching TMZ or anything like that. It was me just watching the most obscure, like, how was it made videos, stuff like that. So once my dad realized this, like, he was being pretty gentle about it because he was just like, Haley, why are you, like, researching this? Like, why are you looking up these random things? And I remember telling him, I'm like, it's because, like, they pop into my head and I just need to get these things answered in my brain rather than, just complete the homework assignment and move on with my life. I was doing everything in the world to avoid it, and I was following these weird passions that were just jumping into my brain that I needed to get resolved regarding the questions I had in life at that very moment. So anyway, that pretty much was the summary of me throughout my education. Anything I didn't want to do, extremely painful to get through, and yeah. So then fast forward, I go to college, and obviously, like I said, because I was the youngest 4 kids, everyone else had gone and got their bachelor's degrees, and so that was what was put in front of me for what I was going to do next. So I ended up going to school and very quickly learning that I'm on my own. Obviously, it's not that I needed my mom holding my hand or anything, but it really was up to me for getting all my schoolwork done. And I was a very energetic person. I liked going to all the school events, the parties, the functions, whatnot. And I was very boy crazy. So I did spend a lot of time dating as well. And so I needed very quickly to figure out how to study and stay on task and yada, yada, yada. And then the other half of it was, this was actually the very first year of college for me. I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do regarding school. Like, I didn't have any crazy passions for what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I was still figuring it all out, so much that I was basically having kind of a meltdown, and I ended up calling my dad one of the first couple weeks of school, and I was just like, I don't know what I want to do, because the classes I had initially signed up for, they were all on a path to go to nursing, as most every girl in Utah, I swear, is told to do, I think, all by our parents. And anyway, so then I was like, I am not about being a freshman, barely starting college, and taking anatomy, chemistry, nutrition, which doesn't sound that scary, but anyway, a lot of classes, all my very first semester, or term or whatever, of college. And so anyway, I ended up calling my dad, and I was freaking out, and so he's just just take some generals and maybe go talk to a career counselor. So I did. And after talking to the career counselor said, I think it would be beneficial for you to go get tested for ADHD. And I was like, okay. And so I did. And I did all the official testing for it, and which is really funny at the time for me, because I had expressed that I thought that I had some sort of something to my parents, and my mom, of course, is typically, as most of them say, is, oh, well, you just need to try harder or whatever. But anyway, the numbers come back for the levels of my ADHD, and I could go find the paperwork, but I'm not gonna go grab it right now. But anyway, apparently I showed the documents and everything to my dad, and he said, "Oh, your numbers are worse than your brother's." So there you go. But the point being is that obviously ADHD in girls versus guys, very different. And so today's episode is the hacks that I've come to find. And yeah, I would say some of them without understanding that I had ADHD, I guess, growing up, some of these things I had just kind of come to figure out what helps me study. And then some are post-discovery of ADHD through research and success of others. And so I've tried out certain things. So here we go. My number one favorite is Zip Fizz drinks. I love them. You can get them at Costco. You can get them just through the direct supplier. Not sponsored, but feel free to sponsor me. I drink one every single day. My favorites are blue raspberry, pink grapefruit, and pina colada. What is so magical about Zip Fizz? I don't know. It's not actually marketed towards ADHD at all. And the funny thing is with ADHD, if you're not familiar with it, I guess I will let you know. So people that have ADHD, not all of them, I won't group us all, but I know that a lot of us experience this. Caffeine doesn't work for us. It's very unfortunate. So a lot of people, they'll stay up late or they need to stay up late, or they stay up late one night and they need to get up in the morning. They'll just say, don't worry about it. I will drink a Red Bull or a Monster or whatever. Ha ha ha. That's funny. So the funniest part of it is that I'd actually never drinking an energy drink. Once again, my parents were strict, so they were just very against it, kind of thing. And so I, never really had the opportunity to have an energy drink growing up. And then I don't know, I just never really wanted one. And so fast forward to college, I was going to a Halloween dance party with this girl. And she was like, yeah, let's stop at the gas station and get energy drinks. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, why not? I had never had one before. And I'm like, sure, let's have an energy drink. Because why not? Let's get the energy up for this Halloween dance party. So at this point in life, I did know I had ADHD, but I hadn't really connected the dots with the energy drink thing. And so I start chugging my energy drink on the way there. I don't remember what it was, to be honest. And we get there, and my friend is bouncing off the walls of the car. And she is so excited, so pumped, like, ready to go. And I kid you not, I could have laid down on the ground and taken a nap. I was so calm, at peace. I could have started doing yoga in the middle of this party venue. And I was just so chillaxed and ready to go to bed. And it was the weirdest thing. And keep in mind, I'm a very high energy person in general. And so it was just taking a downer pretty much for me. And I was like, okay, well, that's weird. And so then only later reflecting that I realized what happened. And I was like, okay, that's really bizarre. Anyway, obviously energy drinks have a very high level amount of caffeine. Zip Fizz don't have as high. They have 100 milligrams of caffeine per serving. However, the caffeine is derived from green tea and guarana. I think that's what it's called. I wish I had some scientific explanation, because the honest answer is I don't. I don't know what it is about Zip Fizz, but it naturally gives me an alertness to the day, where I have compared it to energy drinks. I have compared it to soda. I have compared it to a lot of things. And it somehow works just splendidly for me and my ADHD. And the reason why I don't think it's just me is because I have talked to at least like 5-ish other people throughout the last 5-10 years, actually, talking about ADHD. And we'll start talking about ADHD, and how we're affected by it, or what works for us when it comes to studying or work habits, whatnot. And we'll obviously joke and say, yeah, well, caffeine doesn't work. And then we'll both stop and we'll say, but, and I've had this exact conversation multiple times. People are like, but actually, I'll try a Zip Fizz. And I'm like, no way. Me too. It's Zip Fizz. I don't know what it is. So if you have ADHD or think you have ADHD and caffeine doesn't work for you, try a Zip Fizz, because I don't know what's in it. I don't know why it's magical, but somehow it works. And the days that I have woken up and not had my Zip Fizz in the morning, I will notice kind of like a couple hours later into my day, and I'm like, I kind of feel like a little slow, a little laggy, and I'm like, oh, I haven't had my Zip Fizz today. It's just kind of a morning coffee for ADHDers, I guess. All right, and then my next hack is, it's not that deep, but basically any kind of ambiance or ambient music that if you have a fandom that you're a fan of, whether that's Harry Potter, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, anime, lo-fi music, whatnot, or anime, I guess the solution is anime, lo-fi, but yeah, anything that you're passionate about, just type it into YouTube, either type in lo-fi, uh, ambiance, or ambient music, basically anytime when you're studying, it is the best life hack, because I feel like with most people, they can just listen to regular music with lyrics or whatnot and jam out. But the problem is, at least for me, is that I will focus on the lyrics too much, or as my high schooler researching self would do, would spiral and hear a new song that pops up. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, who's this artist? And then I'd go research the artist. And then I'd go research why they became famous or what their first album was. And then I'd spiral and spiral and spiral, especially if I was working on my laptop. And so listening to music with words was the worst idea, because it would distract me worse. So music without words was great. Another one that I would really like to listen to was like John Williams, or Eddie, or what is it? Or music by Howard Shore or Enya. Definitely Enya. We love Enya. Definitely good life hacks all around. But I have seen on TikTok, I think it's so funny, there's like this Asian boy, man, whatever, that dresses up as a mom, like an Asian mom, and comes and checks on you while you're studying. It's like a YouTube video that you can throw. Maybe I'll find it and link it in the comments. But so funny. I might have used that, I guess, if I knew about it, but at the same time, I don't know. I would just be, I don't think actually it would work for me, because I'd be too distracted on what the Asian mom was doing, or like looking, or her facial expressions. See, it's like we get locked on into the most small little details, which is what is so distracting. And for me, why the music with words does not work, or any additional details, which is why the ambiance music is the best. Another hack that I feel like I recognized before I saw it on TikTok, especially in college, when I remember I would get home from either doing grocery shopping or I'd get home from school, and I'd be wearing my shoes, my outdoor shoes, because I mean, I lived in an apartment, so all the floors were disgusting anyway, because I had 3 roommates. And so I'd like wear my shoes and keep wearing them, and as I'd move throughout the rooms and putting stuff away or whatever. And I'd be so efficient with any of the tasks, like right when I got home, because I don't know, I just felt like I was still clocked in with school mentally. And so I was just, the to-do list kept going. It was good, because I was just still in that work mindset. Well, spoiler alert, that wasn't really it. It was because I was wearing my dang shoes. And that was something that became popular like a couple years ago on TikTok, was that it was a big ADHD hack, is if you want to get stuff done, put on shoes. Which, it doesn't have to be our outdoor shoes. Thankfully, slippers work for me. Or because I'm super OCD now about my house and my carpet staying clean, no outdoor shoes are allowed inside the house anyway, so I do have specific indoor shoes that I wear, but it definitely makes all the difference. Is that I don't know what it is, but putting on shoes, it locks you in, so it keeps you focused on your tasks. I think it's because it's less comfortable, even though like your shoes can be comfortable. It doesn't allow your body to like, I don't know, make contact with the surface and let you relax. I don't know. But overall, it works, and I definitely would recommend it to anyone that needs to get something done. Okay, and then actually on that same note, I remember seeing another hack being, if you need to clean your house or something, is invite someone to come over, because nothing will set or create the concentration to clean your house like having a guest show up, because it's the last minute procrastination. You have to super clean your house. So I remember hearing people say that they invite friends over for that specific purpose, which, way to be social, I guess. Actually, with the other thing that goes hand in hand with wearing shoes as a hack, the other part of it is that you can't sit down. So when cleaning or trying to get whatever tasks done, you can never take a break. You can never sit down on your bed to scroll on your phone for a minute. You can't say, oh, let me just have 5 minutes. Nope, because the second you sit down, you ain't getting back up. And it's not even laziness, I swear. Your brain just shuts down, and it's like the internal mechanism inside your body just wants to run away in the opposite direction. It's hard to explain, but it's what it is. Okay, next one is another TikTok, which is put it back, don't put it down. So, like, for example, if you are cooking and you're using some seasoning, right? You go grab the paprika from your seasoning cabinet or whatever. So you go use it, pour it in your dish, and then instead of putting it down right next to your pot, put it right back to the cabinet. Because if you put it down, it ain't going back to its home in the cabinet anytime soon. Same concept with everything else. So, if you are using a laundry basket to tote clothes, and let's say you are super good and you put your clothes away, but you leave the laundry basket on your bed or on the ground next to your bed or something like that when it needs to go back to the laundry room. Okay, well, it's gonna stay there for the foreseeable future, and you're gonna walk around it every single time. So that's an example of don't put it down, put it back. So, just keeping that phrase, don't put it down, put it back, in your head all the time when you go to put something down, that needs to go to the forefront of your mind, and then you can be a little bit more successful. Pretty much all these tips are just gaslighting yourself to be successful. So the next couple things are things that I've just kind of learned over the past couple of years, whether that's just kind of adulting, maturing, I don't know. But one of them is just, for me specifically, is with ADHD, I can sometimes get lost in conversations. Will tune out. Like, you can be talking to someone one-on-one, and they can be explaining or telling a story, and your brain just kind of floats away, and it starts thinking, oh, did I put the laundry in? Or did I get groceries for dinner tomorrow? And you have all the right intention because you care about the person that's talking. You are sure that you care about what they're saying, but your brain is just going so quick the other direction, and you just kind of accidentally leave the conversation. But we're really good at mirroring. That's what it's called. Where we'll just nod, we'll smile, and it will look like we're totally right there with you. But in reality, we are gone. We have left out the back door. So one of my ways that I try to stay clocked in, as I would say, is one, eye contact. Is I will focus on the person's eyes as much as possible. I mean, eye contact for me, I'm not the best at it in general, and so it helps me in two different ways of keeping me clocked in as well as making sure I am making good eye contact. But overall, just keeping as well to the forefront of my brain of, okay, stay clocked in. Don't go off. Don't go somewhere else, but making sure that I'm staying focused on who's talking to me and what they're talking about. On the other hand of these conversations with ADHD, I can talk a lot. I can yap a person's ear off. And the problem is that can be rude. It can be quite rude. And so another concept that I've liked to try to incorporate for myself, depending on the conversation, depending on the mood, is that I try to become the least interesting person in the conversation. Because the reality is a lot of people tend to like to talk about themselves. That's just kind of human nature. And so I have come to learn from some of my favorite people in this world. There's a particular family that grew up near us, my parents' house growing up, and they are the nicest people in the world. And something that they always did growing up that I could just pinpoint it to is that they were so selfless. They never talked about themselves. Like, it was never about them. It was always about the people that they were around, and they always genuinely wanted to talk and hear about you. And so I've tried to incorporate that in my life. I'm not the best at it, to be honest, but I definitely will try to do that when I'm around people, whether it's people that I know well or just barely met, strangers. And honestly, I think it's a really good hack as well if you ever feel awkward with someone that you just met. Oh my gosh, just ask them questions about themselves. It's so easy to ask questions about people. Just say, oh my gosh, like, I like what you're wearing. Where did you get it? Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Do you like shopping there a lot? Blah, 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 blah. You can just spiral on random questions. You can ask about their job, their hobbies, their likes, their dislikes, their interests. Overall, it's just one of the biggest life hacks to me. My next topic that I wrote says, strict schedules never work, even though I would love that. Yeah, unfortunately, that's very true. ADHD, I always admired people that were able to spend specific allotted times, or I want to wake up and do this type of workout, yada yada, which keep in mind, I do that, but more intuitively, meaning depending on the day. I mean, I already explained it on the other episode, but so go listen to that one if you haven't. But yeah, the people that do the same 9 to 5 every single day, kind of with all their ducks laid out perfectly, and they do it again and again. Yeah, I could never. That, as much as I'd like to, no. My brain just will throw me in different directions, different days, and we just kind of roll with the punches. An example of that is I would love to eat the same meal every day. I mean, sometimes, once again, this is another ADHD thing, is hyperfixation. So like we'll get locked on some new hot trend. For me right now, I think the hyperfixation is the yogurt protein bowls. That's my favorite go-to lunch or breakfast. So basically it's Greek yogurt, and then you mix a scoop of protein powder, and then I do 1 cup of strawberries, they're frozen sliced strawberries, and then a tablespoon of chia seeds, and a fourth of a cup of granola. So there you go. But mix it all together, so good, chef's kiss. For me, I'm having a lot of success with that meal because it's a cold meal versus a hot meal. I feel like with like hot cooked meals, I get sick of them quicker, like eating them over and over again, because I don't know, they're just overwhelming, and I think the flavors, like, they just hit you too quick, and so then you get sick of them quicker. I don't know. Versus a cold, like, parfait type yogurt bowl, super good. 10 out of 10 would recommend. That being said, I have come to learn that there's just specific foods that are good old reliables for me, but I wouldn't be able to eat them repetitively, like the same ham sandwich for lunch kind of thing, because I would get sick of them too quick, and then I would hate them. Kind of the same way, actually, back to the whole music thing, is one of the hyperfixation tendencies for, I'd say, ADHDers, is that we'll like lock onto a favorite song, whether it's a new release or a new discovery, and we will play it over and over and over again. And like, I'm talking hundreds of times in one day. or just have it just on repeat. And we're obsessed with it, and it's like a drug to us until something changes and we hate the song and we cannot stand to listen to it. And like, I kid you not, it will come up in a super mix or whatever on my phone, and I will hear it, and I'll just be like, oh, and I'll skip it. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand it, but it's just something that happens. But along with hyperfixation, that can very much apply to any number of things. I feel like a lot of the times it's with females, girls, maybe guys too, actually, is arts and crafts. So I cannot say how many times this has happened, but one of my first hyperfixations, I'd say, was loom knitting, which was how you make those hats on those like round looms. I remember it because in my brother's 5th grade, or I think it's 6th grade, class, every year at my elementary, they would do this as like a group class thing. Everyone would get their own loom and do these hats, and then they would donate them. And I remember my brother brought the looms home, and I thought it was so cool, and he taught me how to do it, blah, 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 make a hat. And I remember becoming so obsessed with it, and I must have talked about it to my mom so much because she went out and bought like the loom sets, which comes with like 4 or 5 different size looms. And when I tell you, oh my gosh, I was a loom hat crackhead because I proceeded probably making upwards of 100 hats. For what? I don't know, but obviously my mom collected them and donated them to, I think, a local charity or something, but it was bizarre. I remember bringing them to church. I remember bringing them in the car, like, and I would just be knitting on these looms, and I was like 9 or 10 or something. Like, get a hobby, Haley. Like, I get it, it's a joke because that was technically a hobby, but anyway, that was a hyperfixation. Looking back, would I do it again? No, I don't know why. Anyway, so that was one. Fast forward, I'm trying to think of all of my weird arcs that I've lived through. I learned how to make t-shirt blankets, and I made them and I sold them for random people on the internet. I'm trying to remember how I marketed that. I think it was on Facebook Marketplace. Anyway, so that was fun. I actually ended up paying for my husband and mine's our honeymoon cruise together. I made t-shirt blankets and paid for that, so that was cool. Have I made one since? No. And it was simply because I just had an itch because basically everyone at my college, they would give out shirts so I went to UVU, Utah Valley University, and UVU would give out t-shirts with different logos. It wasn't the same shirt over and over again. It was a unique logo for every like event. And so I kid you not, I probably gathered upwards of 50 t-shirts. Yeah, that's a lot. Probably like 30 plus. I don't know. And they all had different logos, and they were all cool. They were cool logos. It wasn't like advertising or anything. And anyway, so they looked super cool. And every single one of these events, you'd get the same crowd of people pretty much. And we all said the same thing to one another. And we all said, oh yeah, one day I'm going to make a t-shirt blanket with all these. Okay, bet. I was the one that went out and actually did that. And I will have to link a photo or put it on Instagram because I made it happen. I did it. And I was so proud to do it. And the funniest thing is that fast forward, after I had made this blanket, I had taken a picture of it that I like once it was done, and in a different contest for UVU, they were doing a contest of like show your school spirit or something. And I remember I hadn't uploaded the picture yet, but I had uploaded the picture and tagged the contest in it for UVU's show your spirit or whatever. And I remember this contest was so rigged. It had so many people mad because the people that were in charge of picking the winners picked like the worst people, like the worst options for the people that, yeah. Anyway, long story short, there was so many cool pictures. There was like a girl like completely upside down because she'd done like an aerial and like midair. She did something view, I don't know. And then I'm trying to remember some of the other ones, but anyway, there was so many better winners than what they had put first, second, and third. And the first place winners got to go to like Disneyland or something. So I remember talking to like some of the other people that were like very high contenders, alongside myself, of course, because mine was very impressive. Like I had multiple departments of UVU, like their Instagrams, DM me and say, "This is so cool. Like props to you," where they didn't have to do that. But anyway, so did I think I was gonna win? I don't know, maybe. But I thought that was pretty school spirity. Anyway. But anyway, so that was the short life of me making t-shirt blankets, quilts. But actually, I did help my brother make a childhood t-shirt blanket as well. I think it was like the following summer or something. So, and I still could do it. I do recall and have some of the supplies and all that on how to do it. But it is a lot of work, and I just remember my back being broken because I would be leaning over the sewing machine for so many hours. There was specifically this one air quote order that this woman had contacted me to make, and I ended up making 10 t-shirt blankets, and they were pretty big, and they were quilts. Like, she ended up paying me, I think it was like $1,200 or so. I don't remember. Maybe it was more. I think it was more. It was pretty good. It's good time. That was another hyperfixation. I made chocolate covered strawberries, and I made them well for a while. And I was just randomly giving people chocolate strawberries all the time. It was so funny because like guys in college, they were all over that. Like, keep in mind, I was just doing it for like my own entertainment. And then they would be like, "Wait, yeah, this is legit." And I'd like whip out these perfectly made chocolate covered strawberries. I'm like, "Yeah, here you go. Here, you can have some." They're like, "What the heck?" Because I just have like them in my fridge a lot of the time. So it's kind of weird, but good times. Another hyperfixation was scrapbooking. I was very determined that I would become a scrapbooker, which definitely did not happen, but I have since used a lot of the scrapbooking paper for different types of events, etc. So, or like invitations or, a lot of things. So, it wasn't a total loss because I've still slowly and surely will use the paper, scrapbooking paper, but yeah, definitely did not keep up with that. So yeah, that's the sad reality of hyperfixation. And will it continue to happen? Absolutely. I'm just now more aware of it. So the next thing that I've written down is for relationships. For example, relationships with friends, relatives, whatever. And I guess this also does go hand in hand with clothing or items or household belongings. But basically, the bottom line is if you can't see it, it doesn't exist. Which I guess actually saying it out loud, it reminds me of on TikTok, there is people that were revamping their refrigerators because they would put all their condiments in the drawers that are designated for fruits and vegetables because for ADHDers, those drawers are basically where food goes to die because when you open your fridge, you don't see the contents of those drawers. If anything, you only just see the very front of whatever's in there. And so yeah, so that's basically where food goes to die because you no longer see it, so it doesn't exist. And so that was just like this smart life hack to put all your condiments in there because when you actually need condiments, you go and grab exactly what you need and then you can put it back. And so it was better, and that way you could just put your fruits and vegetables in the side drawers of or the shelves, I guess, of the sides of the doors of the refrigerators because you can see those, and therefore the food wouldn't expire. So, same concept, but goes with relationships, which is why it feels at times that for me personally, or anybody with ADHD, we can come off as a little more cold towards our peers when it comes to texting, when in reality, it's that we just get so lost in our own brain and phones and messages that things get missed. And then if we forgot to reply to you, it can go weeks and we'll be like, oh my gosh, I forgot to reply to this person. And we won't even realize it till either A, you contact us again, or B, we're scrolling through our phone and we happen to notice, oh gosh, we did not text this person back. And so, that's obviously a big part of it, is that if we don't see it, it doesn't exist with our relationships, friends, whatever. We don't hate you. You don't exist in our universe. And that's not because we don't love you. That's just because you're not right in front of our face. But romantically, that actually works out pretty well for breakups. Don't get me wrong, like, naturally, if you're being torn up about a breakup, you're still going to think about it a little bit. But over time, like, you will completely forget about that person. So it's nice. But it's funny because in that same breath, even though our brains don't work efficiently, they are also working overtime for the wrong reasons. For example, my brain at all times is working, even when I'm sleeping, whatever. I know I'm not alone in this because I have heard many TikTok comments trends about this, but basically, like, there's a song playing in some part of my brain, 3 different talking tracks, a song or a show that I'm watching, the audio for that's going, I'm planning dinners and meal times, I thinking about shopping I need to do or returns, like, all at the same time, and it doesn't make sense, but that's very much how my brain works. And at any point in the day, and my husband's even done this once or twice, like, we'll be in the car driving somewhere, and I will just be like, I probably look really stressed out or something, and he'll be like, what are you thinking about? And I'll look at him and I'll tell him exactly what I'm thinking about, and it's something so bizarre. And I'm just like, I don't know, let me think about it. Like, the moon landing or something. I really like, and obviously there's the whole conspiracies with the moon landing, right? But then I proceed to tell him how I got onto that topic, and I was like, well, it's because I saw a bird flap its wings, and then I was thinking about how the airs moved underneath the bird, and then I was thinking about air in general, and then how this air in space, and then I was thinking about how with the moon landing, like, obviously that's a normal person's I guess, type of thought process, but it goes so fast, I feel like, for people with ADHD, because we will be on one spot, and then within less than 10 seconds, we are in a far different spot in our thinking process. Anyway, I feel like most people would stick around and kind of thinking about the same topic a little bit, and no, it's like lightning strikes, pretty much. Okay, and then in preparation for recording, I actually asked my husband, and I said, when you think of me, Haley, and ADHD, what would you say comes to mind? And he said specifically that my desire to do things right in the moment, and let's say right before we leave the house to do something. So an example of this, I'm trying to think of an example that doesn't have justification, because I'm sure they exist, but an example that I would say that does have justification is we're leaving the house, everything's ready to go, we gotta go somewhere, and then I'm like, let me go start the dishwasher, or let me go start the dryer, or whatever, or the laundry. And of course that makes sense because those things take time, so might as well have them work while you're leaving the house. I believe an example that would probably be more fitting for what he was going for is, oh, let me go grab some returns that I have to do that I probably wouldn't have to do right in that moment or that day, but it's like, I gotta life hack my life a little bit better, and we gotta get this done just 'cause, we can. Not because we have to, but because we can. with that being said, I know it probably stresses him out in circumstances where it's just like, all right, like, we probably time-wise would then be on time versus early, because he definitely is the type where he would rather show up 15 minutes early and just sit in the car because we're that early. And yeah, anyway, I do make it a key point in our relationship to always be on time. I feel like we've gotten pretty good at that, where neither of us are making the other late for events, because I don't think it's rocket science to know that that would negatively affect a relationship and with being stressed with one another. So that's definitely a good little relationship goal. But that's also a episode that I think I'd want to do, is just success in relationships. And maybe we'll do that one next, because that is something that I am really proud of me and my husband, is that we obviously love each other very much, but I will say our relationship is superb. I think I've never met anyone with a more cohesive relationship than what he and I have. And I know that's pretty bold of me to say, but it's true. Like, we're not perfect, obviously, but no one is, right? So, but I will say that our process of thinking and the way we interact with one another, it truly is something, and I love that for us. And I will bullet point the points on that here soon. Okay, so I only have a couple left here, but I think one of the funniest ADHD definite hacks would be that I am similar, I would say, to a boy when it comes to reflexes. I don't know. I had always heard growing up that guys that had ADHD were really good at video games because they had really good reflexes. And then I think I remember hearing a study saying that that was indeed true. But I will say, whenever I drive a car, I feel like I have some sort of superpower because my brain works so fast. Like, I have insane reflexes. I'm checking my mirrors a billion times so quickly, and it's just second nature to me. I wouldn't say it's because I'm fearful of being on the road or anything. It's just very just built into my system, I feel like. And so that, and then my just general reflexes in general, like not driving or anything, like, I feel like if something is rolling off the counter and I need to catch it, I catch it most every time. Like, or if somebody is gonna like try to throw something at me, I catch it. I just have really good reflexes. So I think that's a little life hack too. Just always kind of being very aware of your surroundings, not being caught off guard very often. I think that's a little secret superpower. Overall, even though I mentioned it for my last episode for my 4 a.m. club hacks, I guess, is podcasts. Podcasts will always be an ADHD friend too. I would say that one is more specific with cleaning and tidying and organizing, versus studying. Of course, good luck trying to study and listen to a podcast at the same time. It's not gonna work unless it's on the topic that you're studying for. So yeah, I guess then if it is, then pop off. But yeah, so for cleaning, definite life hack for ADHD, because with ADHD in general, just like when you are inviting someone over so you can power clean, same kind of concept. Someone's kind of there with you, and it kind of like tricks your brain to think that way, and so it helps you be efficient and clean. So definite 10 out of 10 for podcasts. But if you want to give this girl 5 out of 5 stars on the podcast today, I would appreciate that. That is it for this episode. Thanks for hanging out. It has been a pleasure. I am so excited to get more of these recorded and sent on your way to help just, be the music for your thoughts. do me a favor and go and follow the Instagram. Everything's linked below. If you have any conundrums, would like me to take a stab at your relationship problems, life problems, choices that you want to make or think of making, whatever you got, feel free to DM me. I'd love to talk about it. I love giving advice. I feel like I have a lot of good, weird stories throughout my life that has given me a nice perspective on things. So, and I would love to share them with you. So feel free to shoot me a question, comment, concern, and let's talk about it. Sorry, my voice sounds a little weird today. That's, like I said, coming back from an illness. Hopefully we can sound a little bit better next week. And besides that, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.